Okay, just so that I can download some other things.
Okay.
Okay.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This is AP News. I'm Rita Foley.
They billed it as the first major television event of the 2024 presidential campaign. And former President Trump got into it with the interviewer on CNN last night.
Okay, is that Reverend?
New Hampshire, it was a contentious back and forth.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Rigged, even though state
I'm awesome, good, Santita, great.
Okay, and I'm
That
gonna
will
need
sound
you.
good.
Okay, fantastic, and I'm gonna need you out by 6:20, okay?
And its supporters stormed the U.S.
You got it.
Okay, thank you, sweetie.
The day after a New York jury found the former president liable for sexually abusing a woman, columnist E. Jean Carroll, in 1996. Asked about the case, Trump claimed his poll numbers had gone up, and he claimed to have never met her, though at least one photograph has surfaced showing them. I'm Betty Collins.
Embattled New York Congressman George Santos says he is not resigning. He's pleaded not guilty to federal financial crimes charges.
I'm going to fight my battle. I'm going to deliver. I'm going to fight the witch hunt. I'm going to take care of clearing my name, and I look forward to doing that.
Republican leaders are brushing aside calls for them to start pushing him out of Congress. Today, the U.S. will begin denying asylum to migrants who arrive at the U.S.-Mexico border without first applying online or seeking protection in a country they pass through. Asylum seekers have been showing up at the border in huge numbers ahead of the new rule. 2 people known dead now after a man opened fire this morning at a Mercedes-Benz factory near Stuttgart, Germany, according to authorities. They say a suspect is in custody. No word yet on a motive. Mercedes-Benz says it's shocked and saddened. School children are among the 24 people injured after a temporary pedestrian bridge collapsed in Finland. This is AP News. Ukraine's President Zelensky says his military needs more time to prepare what's expected to be a counteroffensive aimed at pushing back Russian occupying forces. But the AP's Karen Sharma says there is another angle to this.
Ukraine's air defenses have strengthened significantly since the start of the war. With the help of Western weapons and growing experience, the military has been able to save infrastructure and lives, as well as prevent Russia from achieving air superiority. The great strides made by Ukrainian forces are a critical step as they prepare for a counteroffensive. They dart out by truck to farm fields around the capital, ready to take down enemy drones and missiles. Scramble has become an almost nightly event since Russia resumed regular air attacks on Kyiv on April the 28th, after a nearly 2-month lull. I'm Karen Chennis.
And I'm Rita Foley, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago Progressive Talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Vuchitsky. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high in the mid-80s. Winds out of
Okay,
the
do we have about 5 more minutes, Alex?
Tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms here, late, cloudy.
Yes.
Okay, can you bring up Pastor Brooks? I want to make sure that he can be heard.
On Saturday, slight chance for rain, a high around 74.
Pastor Brooks?
Another chance for rain showers, high 66.
I am here.
Okay, you can hear us, yes?
Currently, it's 58.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, and you can hear us,
And right now,
Alex?
there are more carriers and plans to
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay,
18 and
fantastic.
64 years old with a household income of $25,000 or less. This message is for you.
And how much time do I have? About 4 minutes?
Affordable Care Act is available for individual and family health coverage.
We should be going live at 6:08 around that time.
Okay.
So about 4 minutes.
Health care for all at 800-337-9047. That's 800-337-9047.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing, and you always need to be sticking your fingers. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. We simply apply a discreet, easy-to-use sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger pricks. If you test your blood sugar at least 4 times per day and inject insulin at least 3 times per day, or use an insulin pump and have private insurance or Medicare, you might be eligible for a CGM with little or no cost to you. Call U.S. Medical Supply today for a free benefits check. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill Medicare or your insurance directly. Call now and say goodbye to finger pricks.
800-417-0851. 800-417-0851. 800-417-0851. That's 800-417-0851.
Women can have it all.
Hi, Jeanette.
Heart attacks. But
Hi, would you like to come on and be part of the panel? I'm sorry, I was exhausted last night.
Different and more subtle than
The Trump town hall and the DNC doubling down on no debate.
at getheartchecked.org. From Women's Heart Alliance in partnership with women.
No, not Jonathan. Trump had one last night. Were you familiar with it?
WCPT for tuning.
No, look, you should let me know at 6:30 if you can. You should
The future
at least read
depends
some
on
synopses of it.
Every day, teachers are
3 minutes.
tomorrows, starting their students
No,
on journeys
please,
that will
trust me.
change the course of history.
Get some of the
Right
highlights
now,
because there's a
in
lot in it.
classroom somewhere in the United States,
You
there's
don't
a teacher
want to walk
inspiring
in
a future scientist
speaking
who will make preventing pandemics
into
their
space.
life's work. Sharpening the
Just let me
mind
know,
of an
okay?
aspiring
Because I can bring you on at
environmentalist
7
who
as
will help
well.
combat climate change
Because that'll give you
and
enough. That'll give you a chance to look. Don't ever,
will be the
ever,
first
ever,
in their
ever do
family
that.
to graduate college.
Okay.
It all starts with teachers who meet
All right, thanks so
challenges
much.
with creativity, who reinvent
We're gonna
education
call,
for the future, who work
Pastor
towards a school system
Wilson
that lifts up every
at,
child, regardless of race, income,
at
or
7.
zip code, and to enable the full
Okay,
potential
but I'll
of our
send that to
students,
you, okay?
our communities, and our
Okay, I'll be on the lookout.
All right, thanks so
Explore a
much.
career that leaves a legacy you can be proud of. Shape the future. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
Hi, I'm Ravina. I'm 7 years old and I'm blind. I love gymnastics, swimming, public speaking, and riding on the turbine with my dad. You can help me live the life I want.
Help Ravina and other blind people by making a tax-deductible donation of your used car, truck, or almost anything with wheels to the National Federation of the Blind. Your donation will help ensure a brighter future for blind children and adults. Just call 855-659-9314. That's 855-659-9314. Or visit carshelpingtheblind.org. That's carshelpingtheblind.org. We will arrange to have the donated vehicle picked up and provide you with a tax-deductible receipt. And if you know someone who is blind that can use our help, email nfb@nfb.org.
Blindness does not hold me back at all. Donate today.
You want to feel important.
You want to be part of something bigger.
1 minute.
That matters and will help change things.
You want to feel like you belong.
We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it.
We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers.
We are normal people just like you. But our part-time service in the Army National Guard means we get to be more.
When our communities are in need, we get the chance to stand up and do something about it.
We get to serve in our own region and help the people we call neighbors.
From the lake shores of Ohio, Michigan,
30 seconds.
Minnesota.
Thank you. Let's have a great show.
Indiana, Illinois, and
Let's have a great show, yes.
wide open plains of North and South Dakota.
No matter
We are
what.
here for our hometown.
If we stumble, we'll recover.
We
Praise the
can
Lord.
make a difference. Take on your
Amen to that.
Visit nationalguard.com
Remember, always
to
remember
find
that.
out more.
10 seconds. Yes, ma'am.
By the Illinois Army National Guard, aired by the Illinois Broadcasters Association at this station.
Stand by.
Play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Paula.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love. It's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's a joy to be with you today. You know that's my trusty. I think I'm gonna have to give my printer a name. That's right. I'm Santita Jackson, coming to you from WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. It is Thursday, May 11th, 2023. Title 42 is set to expire. Getting some feedback, so let's work that out. And of course, we're going to be talking about the Trump Town Hall meeting. What did you think about that? That really kicked off the 2024 election cycle. So what do you make of it? It was very, very interesting. I want to know what your thoughts are. 773-763. WCPT 773-763-9278. Of course, WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, is my home station here in Chicago. And AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, that is my home station to the north in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And of course, with my Morning Stars on the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. Everybody get on over there and Morning Stars. Paul, you know the drill. Like and share. Shirley from beautiful Philadelphia. Robert and Andre and Daryl and Raphael. How you doing, everybody, my sweeties? It's so good to be with you today. And I want you to like and share the show. And, of course, please go to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Everybody, please try and move on over there. I got a call from Facebook. They connect with you when you begin to get a lot of traffic. And they said what you need to do is to get your people over to your YouTube channel. Do you have one? I said, I'm getting one. They said, you need to get one, and they need to be on it. So let's get on top of that, everybody. Please go over to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, And we will be talking with Dr. Max Wolf about the state of the economy. That is driving so much of the anxiety in the United States and in the world today. Just how far our money can stretch, and it's not stretching far at all. So let's talk about inflation. Let's talk about these increasing interest rate hikes that Senators Warren and Sanders and so many others are saying, hey, wait. Every time you raise these interest rates, people lose jobs. And you're playing a game with people and their lives. Don't do that. And then you've got the debt ceiling. And that issue, I mean, who's going to be compromised away? I'm hoping that they will not go into default, but if you listen to former President Trump last night, they are willing to do that. Some people are willing to blow up the system in the name of making it right. Wow. So we got to talk about that, everybody, today on the Santita Jackson Show, because there was a lot that was said at that town hall meeting yesterday. There were many, many takeaways. And I want to know what your thoughts are. It's interesting. The White House press corps got on the presidential plane yesterday, and they had on MSNBC. They were not playing the CNN town hall. I wish they were. We got to grow up in our politics, because now the Democrats are shutting down the primaries also. You kind of heard former President Trump allude to the need to do that. No, you don't. The primaries are when you're supposed to make up your mind and then vote for candidates who can help you to change the party platform. Remember that, everybody. Don't play fast and loose with this thing, with this republic, and with the democracy that we hope to form. We have yet to form it, but we keep moving in fits and starts in that direction. And that means we all have to participate. And you cannot have a coronation, you have to have a nomination. And then they run for they ask you for your vote once more. So I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. How many of you watched it? Some of you swore, I'm not watching this. I'm glad I saw it 1.5 times. Yes, I sure did. Because I wanted to see what I saw. And the only way that you can, you've got to understand your opponent. You must understand them, which means you must study them as they study you. So call me at 773-763-9278. I want to know what your thoughts are. I want to know what you saw last night, what you heard. He was speaking to a very, very partisan audience, a very friendly audience. And it was interesting to hear their thoughts, too. We need to understand each other. Let's stop talking past each other, talking about each other. Let's talk to each other. Let's get to some of these headlines, everybody, on the Santita Jackson Show. Of course, the CNN town hall meeting is the talk of the town, everybody, with former President Donald Trump, the frontrunner for the GOP presidential nomination in 2024. Once again, he refused to concede that he lost the 2020 election and repeated false claims about it being stolen. He took questions from the New Hampshire Republicans at the town hall meeting, anchored by Caitlin Collins, and he made false and unsubstantiated claims about the violence on January 6th, and on and on and on, and made negative comments about his case in New York and about, E. Jean Carroll she's no longer the accuser. She has been affirmed, everybody. So let's talk about that today. Call me at 773-763-9278. The Trump-era border policy restriction, known as Title 42, is set to expire tonight at 12 midnight, likely resulting in an influx of immigrants in the U.S.-Mexico border. Authorities encountered more than 10,000 migrants along the southern border on Tuesday. They're supposed to be able to get information about how they get to the border and what they do when they get there, but many of them don't have internet access because all this information is on a website. And so they have to get out of their homes and up the way along the border in order to come into internet activity. Think about that, everybody. I think that the internet ought to be a public utility, so anyone who needs access to it ought to be able to get it anytime, anywhere. We're already paying taxes on everything. That needs to happen, everybody. After more than 3 years, the United States declaration of a public health emergency due to COVID-19 ends today. What is that going to mean? We're going to be talking with Dr. Shanina Knighton about that, so that we can figure out how you can protect yourself. In Chicago, we're going to have a high of 72 degrees, partly cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 74 degrees. It will rain in the NBA. Well, what did they say this morning on the news? The Warriors kept hope alive, everybody. 121-106 over the Lakers, but the Lakers lead that series 3-2. Now they head to Los Angeles. What will happen down there? The Knicks 112, the Heat 103. The Heat lead that series 3-2. And the Celtics will be playing the 76ers tonight. The Nuggets will be playing the Suns. In the NHL, who is going to get that Stanley Cup trophy? We do not know. But we do know that Florida leads their series 3-1, and the Maple Leafs 2, the Panthers 1. The Oilers and the Golden Knights are tied in their series, and the Oilers won last night 4-1. The Devils will be playing the Hurricanes, and the Kraken will be playing the Stars. In Major League Baseball, the Twins will be facing off against the Padres once again today at 12 noon, but they won yesterday 4-3. They'll be playing the Cubs tomorrow. Yay! The Royals 9, the White Sox 1, and the Royals will be facing off against the White Sox today at 1 o'clock. And those are some of the headlines, everybody, on the Santita Jackson Show. We have got Pastor Darius Brooks. Pastor Darius Brooks, what is on your mind first? God bless you, love you, so glad about the work that you and your church are doing. How can we get there? Because you are giving out lots and lots and lots of food.
Santita, we gave out so much food yesterday. Today is Thursday, Wednesday, and Tuesday. Every Tuesday from 5 till 7, we give out food between 200 and 600 families. And I ain't talking about no young girl. Chicken, fish, greens, produce, tomatoes, eggs, cheese, milk. When I tell you, you leave with about $200-300 worth of food. I'm not joking with you. And then on Wednesdays, we do it for the seniors from noon till 2. That the seniors come out because we don't want them out in the evening. Santita, I'm excited, and we've been doing it before the pandemic, a year before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and we still doing it today. I looked at them yesterday and saw the people in line. I said, God, thank you for the ability to serve. The Word of God says, he that is great from you, let him be a servant. So Grace Central Church, 10216, Kitchener Street, Westchester, Illinois. Santita, I'm getting to the place I like doing, then I like to see. And did you hear what I said? I like seeing people I like seeing people going forward. I like seeing people use God's word to produce what God says. Santita, I'm loving God's word. I'm loving this journey. I'm loving getting into his word. You can't have Jesus, people of God. You got to be in him. Having Jesus and being in him is two separate places. Santita, I'm going to bless you this morning. Let's journey through the good news. Jeremiah 44, 9 and 10. A lot of times God teaches us not just for the good things, but he teaches us details about our past and how sometimes we need to pay attention to our past and not necessarily use it in our present to create a future. Jeremiah 44, 9 and 10 says, have you forgotten The wickedness committed by your ancestors, Santita, I'm about to run up out of here, committed by your ancestors and by the kings and queens of Judah, and the wickedness committed
Dr. Nainazan.
and your wives, who you going to deal with yesterday, today, and that's right now, in the land of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem. Santita, watch this. To this day, they have not humbled themselves or shown reference, nor have they followed my law and the decrees or covenant I set before you and your ancestors. If you really pay attention to that, there's something God is telling us to do today that our past, whatever they were, pastors, preachers, teachers, politicians, did not do. But he got a law today that we can literally change our past, look at our present, and design our future. If I have to use for thoughts, Santita, I'm excited. You can tell my current identity, Santita, when I began to study this message and this passage of Scripture, things and thoughts were running like crazy in my mind. I began to think about how reading, trusting, and obeying God's word for me has never failed me. It's a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our pathway. Girl, I got to hurry up. I was reading the same across the world, scarcity. I was studying this word scarcity. Santita, scarcity is a way of thinking. People don't think positive. They think negative. They cannot celebrate others. It's a zero sum of a paradigm. Let's not talk about each other. You said just a second ago, let's talk to each other. Let's talk about getting this thing together. Girl, I just heard you say this a second ago, Santita. You said, let's stop talking about each other. Let's talk to each other, which is what the scripture is talking about the past and dealing with what we need to deal with now to be better. That's what God's word is telling us to do today. People with a scarcity mentality have a difficult time sharing. Santita, as I run on to a close, because there's so much more. A God-created identity, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. The abundance mentality, on the other hand, flows out of the desire to want God's identity, which is a personal work on desiring his word, which is a promise of love, peace, joy, life, and the more abundantly. Santita, yes, you'll start to have a bad breath if you keep bad things in your thoughts. It'll come out of your words. Let everything that has breath praise the Lord, because your current thoughts, which creates your current identity, has a lot to do with your future identity. Santita, I told Grace into this on Sunday, and I'm leaving it and dropping it here. If you really vow or want God's promises, you might have to distract from yours. My current identity.
Love you, Pastor Darius Brooks. What's the address of your church, and how can we worship with you on Sunday?
Sunday, 10216 South Kitchener Street, Westchester, Illinois. That's in Westchester, right off of 290 and Manheim. People think we way out in the suburbs. We right by the hood, Maywood, Hillside, Berkeley. We right over there. So come on to visit us. We right there, right off the expressway. Come on by and get a good word. Let us finish this story.
Amen. Amen. Sending you so much love to you and First Lady Deborah and First Young Lady Dasha and that whole beautiful family of yours. Absolutely. Hey, everybody, after more than 3 years, the United States declaration of a public health emergency due to COVID that ends today. What does that mean, Dr. Shanina Knighton? It ends, and what do we need to do to end COVID in our lives, and certainly to protect ourselves from it? What does it mean to have this public health emergency end?
I would hope that if people are practicing infection prevention and control, that it means nothing. In regards to understanding that regardless of if it is declared over, people are still getting sick with COVID. People still are getting sick, let's say, with other illnesses as well. And so it's just really raising an awareness that, wow, COVID-19 was put on a pedestal, let's say, in regard to illnesses, other illnesses still ensue. It's been said already that COVID is a snitch. As a result of that, we know that there's been an uptick in cancers. We understand that there's been an uptick in diabetes. We understand an uptick in neurological issues. So a lot of things that have been going on as a result of it. So I still suggest to people, even if you had it one time, you do not want it 2 times or 3 times, because we're still understanding the unintended consequences. If you've had it no times, then continue to do what it is that you're doing to make sure that you are practicing prevention. And even if, let's say, you are vaccinated, that still does not mean that just because you get COVID-19 that you have 4 layers of protection that will protect you from some of these unintended consequences or side effects. Because we know it is associated with the earlier onset of dementia, or earlier onset of Alzheimer's, putting more people at risk for diabetes, individuals having unintended consequences of, let's say, kidney issues, liver issues, lung issues, heart issues. We know that these things exist as a result of it. And so I just want to say that even though it is not going to be funded or supported as a public health emergency, it still does not mean that it has magically gone away.
So hold on one second. Let me interrupt you there. The public health emergency means that the public funds that have been available that enabled us to get COVID tests without coming out of pocket for them ourselves and extra monies to make it through the month, that's over now. Is that what this means?
There are stipulations to it, Santita, meaning like I know some of them to research. When it comes to testing, yes, the testing, honestly, even before it ending, was still already coming to an end in regards to it being freely available. So some of these things are already being scaled back, and as we saw, the White House had a plan for how things were being scaled back. Even though COVID is being declared as, or the public health emergency is getting ready to be over, in that documentation is also the fact that COVID-19 vaccines is still going to be offered. So to your point, yes, the money's stopping, yeah, the testing is stopping, the access to other funds that people may need in order to be able to, let's say, help their businesses or have food assistance, yes, that is, those things are decreasing, diminishing, going to be over. The vaccines, however, though, will still be available. And so with that being said, it does mean a different trajectory. It's because if individuals have been dependent on those resources, we will start to see them being tapered back, as some of them have already been taken away already.
Okay, so in the last couple of minutes here, what should we do? I mean, because now we're not going to hear about it. It's not going to be top of the mind. You know, it's not going to be a headline in the news. All of that's going away. But what's not going away is COVID, RSV, herpes, measles, mumps, all of these things. They're still here.
Yep. Recommendation is to, if you already have it, meaning if you want to keep others safe, and active have it, meaning that you want to keep, you want to keep from getting it. Mm-hmm. And so with that, things that I'm preaching, making sure that you are cleaning your hands correctly, making sure that you are some individuals understand that people downplay illness. As a result of playing illness, that means that someone may say, oh, it's just a sniffle, but that sniffle very well could be the cold, and while it might be the cold on them, it might be pneumonia or the flu on you. So make sure that you are cleaning your hands, make sure that you are screening individuals, make sure that you are aware of air quality and the importance that plays in infections. And trust me, the list goes on and on, Santita, but I would suggest starting with those 3.
Hey, everybody. Think about that. Hey, Dr. Nina, HEYDRNINA. That's right. That's her handle on social media, and you need to stay in touch with her so that you can keep yourself healthy. Let's talk about the Trump town hall meeting. 2024 is upon us. Now we've heard from President Trump, former President Trump. What did we hear from him yesterday? When will we hear from President Biden? Will he have a similar kind of town hall meeting? Will the other Democratic candidates and the other Republican candidates have town hall meetings? Do you think we should hear from other candidates or just the presumed nominees? Are we having coronations or nominations? Yeah, I threw a lot at you. You can handle it. Call me up with Santita Jackson Show at 773-763-WCPT, 773-763-9278. Back in just a minute. Okay. Hey, Dr. Nina?
Hello, how are you?
I am doing fine, hon. Doing fine. Okay, let me see this. Okay, had to print something. Whew. Okay. Come on, 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 come on. Continue, please, please. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Thank you. Whew. Okay. These little things. Gotta. Okay. Very good. Oh, okay. All right. So let me do that.
Miss Wells is on.
Okay. Thank you. Hey, Chaparral Wells, how you doing?
I'm great, Santita. Yourself?
Great, 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 great. Did you see the town hall meeting?
I did not.
Oh, now was that purposeful?
No, I was so busy yesterday. I have an event tomorrow, so I've been event prepping, girl.
Okay, well that's a good
Prom
thing.
Prom season.
Okay, all right. I've been trying to get some of these clothes of mine, those that I'm going to keep anyway. Been trying to get them, resized substantially. And really the person who I trust to do it, she's in prom season. So I can't see her for another couple weeks.
It's at least until mid-June.
Well, I have a lot of stuff I'm going to be turning loose. That is what
Harsh mark.
Attorney Conley's on.
I got you, but I have to get a mannequin so you can see, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm going to do too.
I think they have them on Amazon.
Yeah. I thought about that because my cousin said you need mannequins. People need to see, what you have. I said, okay.
Yeah, Maria's good at that.
Oh, she is. Oh, well, she knows she has my cousin has a boutique in her basement and in part of her living room. You're like, what? What is this? That would drive me nuts. But she's made it look like it's part of, she makes everything look like wearable art. So it looks like she just has paintings and whatnot. I'm like, okay, that's smooth. I can't do all that. I cannot. But we're going to see who else we have here. But we've got it. But it was very interesting watching it last night. And it's going to be very interesting watching this season.
Attorney Jones is on.
Okay. Hey, Attorney Jones, how are you?
We have about a minute left.
Okay.
Hi, good morning, Cynthia. Doing good.
Good. And there's Chaparral. She's there. You can say, hey. Oh, wait a minute.
I'll be calling Attorney Patillo as soon as we're live.
Okay, thank you
How
so
you
much.
doing?
Yeah. 30 seconds.
Okay.
Ten seconds. Stand by.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's Thursday, May 11th, 2023. Let's talk about this town hall meeting. Did you see former President Trump last night? What did you think about his town hall? What were the takeaways? It seems that he is getting stronger than ever, at least with the Republican audience. Do you think that his current legal troubles will strengthen him or weaken him. It seems that he's becoming even more defiant. And even in the face of losing this court case in New York, more defiant. And then what about the DNC, who are doubling down on not having any debates? I just saw Simone Sanders, a good friend of mine, really doubling down on why we should not have debates. I was a little surprised because when I met her, she was with Bernie Sanders, and of course she was fighting to be heard then, but now that's not where she is. I respect that. Everybody should be able to make a pivot. But what do you think about that? What do you think about that? We're going to be having Marianne Williamson next week to talk about her presidential candidacy, and I'm going to get Joe Biden if I can, and I'm going to reach out to Robert Kennedy too. Absolutely. And you know what? You might hear from some Republicans here too. I think you need to be informed. If you're going to have opposition, you need to study them, because trust and believe they are studying you. David Daley's book, Rat Eft, showed us that right after the 2008 election of President Barack Obama, they understood the voting patterns, they understood the demographics, and they understood what they needed to do as a minority party to have majority rule. And they planned, and therefore they're not failing. We failed to plan. Do we plan to fail? Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Everybody, I've got a new sponsor. I'm so excited. Megant Financial, Ron Whittingham, and Megant Financial. You do not have to be wealthy or have high net worth to get a financial planner. And that is what he's going to show you. You'll be hearing directly from him very, very soon. And he's going to really help us to understand financial literacy, something that we all loathe to talk about. I understand it. But they've built their businesses on helping the middle class and working class people plan for retirement. Some financial advisors are only interested in you if you have high net worth and they have big fees. Megant doesn't do that. They're advisors, everybody, and they're looking to help you. And so if you want a dignified and comfortable retirement, they can help you to do it, regardless of your income. If you're working in a fast food restaurant, they want to work with you. Absolutely. If you are a gig worker, they want to work with you. So please go to Megant, MEGENT Financial.com, Megant, MEGENT Financial.com. And of course, their number is 708-444-1090. 708-444-1090. Chaparral Wells, as we get into this CNN town hall meeting, can't believe you missed it last night and you missed something. Tell me, what about this food? You know, we love the food. We're ready for the proms, but you know, for those of us who are way past that season in our lives, we want some food.
Yes, Santita, you know we are high in prom season, and we do food too. So tomorrow I'm doing masticcioli, I'm doing ribs, I'm doing finger sandwiches. So we do it all, even if it's for a prom. We do the setup as well as also the food and decor. That's what I always say. So call us at 708-526-4546. 708-526-4546. We can have all of your event needs, including our food, of course, your favorites, greens and green beans that you always get, Santita. We have it for you. Mac and cheese, masticcioli. We have our cakes, our red velvet cake, our caramel cake, our pound cake. Whatever that you need for your events, don't hesitate to give us a call, 708-526-4546. We look forward to serving you. Thank you so much, Santita.
Clara Murphy, hey, thank you so much. She said, open your shirt more. And if I open my shirt more, you'll see more of me. Not. Sending you so much love today. Hey, everybody, what did you think about the town hall meeting? Did you see it, everybody? Did you see it? There's so much that's in the news. Did you see... Did you see this town hall meeting? What did you think about the question when President Trump was questioned about whether he favored, do you want Russia or do you want Ukraine to win? He didn't answer that. He said, I want all the dying to stop. Let me resolve this problem. Let me be president. I'll take care of this in 24 hours. Now, you know, Ukraine was ready to negotiate a peace, but it was, according to press reports, the United States government that told them not to do it. And the European leaders, the most prominent among them, the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, said, hey, you all are making money off this war. We have to live with this. We're on the same continent. We got to end this thing. This is not working for us. Blowing up that Nord Stream pipeline disrupted the distribution of oil on the European continent. That is not a good thing. So let's talk about that, everybody. Let's talk about what we saw last night. And do you want to see more of it? Do you want to see more from these candidates, even though he is the presumed nominee of the Republican Party, even though President Biden is the presumed nominee of the Democratic Party? Should we presume that? Or should they still run for our votes? Tell me, what do you think? 773-763-9278. Paula, you said you saw it and Trump dodged all the questions. I don't think he dodged them. He did his dance. That's what all these folks do. That's what they all do. So why don't you all call in? 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. I got a tremendous panel. Attorney Darrell Jones, chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Attorney Aaron Connolly, Covenant Strategies, brilliant political organizer. And, of course, Robert Patillo, WAOK Radio in Atlanta, and Rainbow Push in Atlanta as well. Attorney Robert Patillo, what did you see last night, and what do you anticipate your callers are going to be talking about this weekend when you're on on Sunday from 1 to 4?
Well,
you have a new caller.
President Trump is very much in decline. I know we talk a lot about President Biden, slowing down with age, not being as sharp as he used to be, not being as, bombastic as he maybe once was, but still being effective in legislating. But President Trump, he doesn't have that same fastball that he had back in 2016. The charm wasn't there. The humor wasn't there. It was more angry, more mean, more frustrating. And I think the weight of everything that's been on his shoulders is starting to show on him and starting to show in his presentation. The weight of being convicted are found liable for sexual abuse and defamation, and that was just on Monday. Being taken in handcuffs and taken into jail in New York, knowing you have the Fulton County investigation still sitting on your shoulders. You still have Jack Smith and the documents investigation, the January 6th investigation sitting on you. I think all of those things are starting to weigh on him, and I'm starting to doubt whether he will even be the Republican nominee. I think this town hall hurt him more than it helped him at all, just by kind of exposing to those swing voters in the middle around America that, well, maybe this isn't the same guy you voted for in 2016 and 2020.
But you know what? He isn't. And he is more world weary. He's not the same guy. He has seen some other things in the same way that President Obama, when he ran again in 2012, you could tell he had seen some things. I've heard many people, Robert, say a lot of things about Robert Kennedy Jr. Even some people were casting aspersion upon his accusation that the CIA, he said, my father always felt that the CIA killed his brother, President John Kennedy. Not that they had a hand in it. He said, no, they killed him. And I heard, several news commentators say, how absurd it is. I'm like, well, you need to shut up. This man's father was the U.S. Attorney General. He was in the room with his father when his father called the CIA, called the FBI, and asked him, did you do this? He has seen some things. Then they killed his father. It's just, I'm like, some people have seen some things, Robert. And when you see some things, it does change you.
Absolutely. I think President Trump also, now,
new caller,
2016, understands what the job requires. That it's not this hee-hee, ha-ha, good time thing, you snap your fingers and things get done. That it really is work. It's difficult. It's one of the hardest jobs in the world. I think he believed going in that it was just going to be a figurehead position. He cut some ribbons, make some proclamations, give a few speeches. He's in bed by 6:30, and I do think that has changed him. But I'm going to be interested in finding out if he's able to kind of moonwalk over policy the way that he was in 2016, because there were some very pointed questions on, well, what will your plan be on the economy? And he would just kind of shrug them off. What will your plan be in Ukraine? It was just a little hubris and just shrugging those things off. Now, with the challenges we face, I wonder if Americans are okay again. We're just kind of saying, hey, trust me, I'll figure it out when I get there.
Attorney Erin Connolly, your thoughts?
Well, my goodness gracious. What was CNN thinking?
So you disagreed with him having the town hall?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. The timing of the town hall the timing of it, first of all, was ridiculous. Right after this verdict was read, they were setting him up to defame E. Jean Carroll again, first of all, which he did. And he got big laughs from the audience and dragged her through the mud yet again. Right?
Do you think
the timing of it was ill-advised.
Hold on one second, because this was already planned, and no one knew that the verdict was going to be read the day before. Do you think that they should have then delayed it, maybe a couple of weeks? What do you think?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I think to do their due diligence as journalists and say, is this the proper format given the circumstances? Is this the proper host given the circumstances, right? To put, the way he belittled the host, the way he disrespected her, I would have rethought the whole format given the candidate in question and knowing what just happened, right? He's fired up about this. And they wanted the ratings, but they did not necessarily want the answers from Trump that they were asking, right? They let him put on the show. And they reached out to the GOP in New Hampshire and had folks in the audience that were friendly to him. This was not necessarily a town hall in the sense that we think of it, right? There was no honesty and no accountability, right? They let him do his dance, as you said, but his is very aggressive, as we saw. And I agree with Robert. I think it shows his weaknesses and liability based on this kind of desperate, aggressive performance, given what he's up against, which Robert expertly laid out for us, right? I think he's having some tough meetings this morning with his attorneys about some things that he said last night, and he's going to have to be careful moving forward. And that puts him in a different position than when he ran the last time in 2016.
But that's the game that he's in, and it is not CNN, MSNBC, or Fox's job, although they take it as their jobs. Trust me, I've been there. They try to show some people to their best advantage, and part of the negotiation. I mean, Caitlin Collins used to work at the Daily Caller. I mean, she is not from the New York Times. She's not from so-called left-wing journalists. She's from the conservative side of the spectrum, which is why I was not surprised that she was moderating it. I think she's a fine journalist, though, to be honest with you. I've always liked her reporting. I think it's really stellar. That having been said, this was kind of sort of, I must say, Aaron, what I expected. We've got some callers, but I want to see more of it, quite frankly. I want to see more of it from everybody. Now I want to see President Biden do a town hall. And he's not going to be with a hostile audience either.
Yeah.
He's not. I mean, nobody would agree to that. The only people who have to do that, I've seen Reverend. The rules for people like him are very different. He's had to walk into hostile audiences and win them over, which he has done. Now, either you got the mad skills to get in this thing or you don't. Shame on you. Shame on you. If you can't figure it out, shame on you. I have no sympathy because this is a grown person's game. Get in it. And try to win it and be done with that. Attorney Daryl Jones, your thoughts?
Well, good morning, Santita. And I certainly agree with what both Aaron and Robert have been laying out. Look, I first asked the question, what in the world is CNN doing? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing this now? And in my mind, it did come out to, it had to be a thing for them of marketing, money, and ratings. It had to be. I mean, that had to be what they were thinking because they had to know with all that Trump has shown them in the past that when you poke the bear in the eye, you should expect to be clawed or pawed or whatever it is that the bear would do to you. And I think that's what's happening here. Now, what Trump showed, I think, to the world is that he went back to the stories that he's always done. I was shocked not too shocked, I guess, when he went after Caitlin Collins, calling her nasty and all that other stuff. But that was consistent with the trial he just came out of. I mean, that's the person that he is. He is who he is saying that he is. You know, the whole election denial, the anti-abortion, making it a federal legislation or federal law to stop abortions across the country. All of this is stuff that we know that he stands for, and this is what he was pushing out. So, you know, did he seem angry? Did he seem mean? Did he seem, frustrated? Yeah. You know, he certainly seemed all of those things. But, he was all of that before in my mind. I mean, all of those things were what many of the Americans and many of his followers found appealing. Was that meanness? Was that angriness? Was that white male, paternalistic thing or looking down on other people, that type of thing? That's what a lot of his supporters found comfort in. That's what they were looking for, and that's, again, what he was delivering. Now, I think that part of the reason that, if his attorneys have the conversation with him, that he may want to tone down some of the things, some of the positions he was taking, because they may be used against him later in the proceedings. But similarly, former President Trump will want to kick it up, because he knows that part of his protection for his future is if he can secure the presidency to try to shield himself from a lot of the liability that he now has open before him.
But let him speak. See, I'm from this space. Let them speak. I think shutting down discussions and why would you let them speak? Let people see who folks are. I think that's a real mistake, and that's part of my distaste for what's happening, particularly on the Democratic side, because they have got these top Democratic operatives who are out going on radio shows, Robert, before I go to the callers, who are and televisions, making these compelling, really mean-spirited arguments, quite frankly, and they're mean-spirited because they're directed toward the voters. You don't need to hear from any other candidates. You only need to hear from President Biden. Why? You have someone polling at 20%. You have someone who's almost at 10%. Are you serious right now? But if they were negligible numbers, even then you let them get on the stage and speak. A year ago, Brandon Johnson was at 2%. Aaron, no one knew his name. And the same thing happened 4 years before with Lori Lightfoot. No one knew her name, but it was by getting out here, getting before the public, where you see who people are for good or for ill, and boom, it's the marketplace of ideas. I think that, we have got to grow up in our politics. If you get up there on that stage and you mess up, all right, great. If you come up, then great for you too. But shutting people out and shutting them down, I just think it's a mistake. Let me go to Anita from North Carolina. Anita, what's on your mind?
Hi, Santita.
Hi, Miss Anita, what's on your mind?
Okay, Kenny. First of all, I'm very upset with the Democrats because Jesse Jackson Jr. was my congressman. And he had all the right ideas. He had all the things that would take down the Queen Elizabeth crap, and people being fair and all of that. He had all of that. Okay, and people would come out and vote for him, and he would get 98% of the vote. But people are not showing up at this PTA meetings. They're not showing up at the town halls. They're not showing up. They're not participating in a democracy. That one person cannot be their Jesus. Okay, and they set Jesse Jackson Jr. up to be Jesus while they did absolutely nothing. Okay, and then the Republicans are going to come in and say, hey, well, if these people are not going to do what they need to do, we're going to do something. And I don't trust religion coming in talking about, well, they don't have religious. Okay, I'm going to take business over religion right now because religion is not working out here for people. Okay, it's obvious it's not working. So I'm going to deal with business. So I'm tending to lean towards the Republicans because when your father put his son out there, and I know he didn't do that. Your brother decided that on his own. The American public, including women, Republican and Democratic women, white women too, are getting rights from this. But do they come out to Operation Push and support the things that they're about? No, they don't. So I'm going to deal with the Republican men because they tend to deal with the women. And the women talking about somebody did this and somebody did that. All you got to do is look at the college campuses. And the girls are literally walking around naked at these campuses, and then they talk about somebody molested them. I mean, in Islam, you don't advertise that on a college campus. You're supposed to be getting an education so you don't have to resort to certain types of way of living to make money. Okay, and you're on a college campus, and this is all I'm looking at. So I think a lot of that stuff is hypocritical, and I'm not going to hold Trump accountable for that because I don't know what women are doing.
Okay. That is one woman's opinion. Anita from North Carolina. Dynamo Dave, what's on your mind today?
Oh, sunshine of Chicago, how you doing?
Oh, my son. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. It's the state of Minnesota's birthday today, just so you guys know.
Well, happy birthday, Minnesota. I love it. Thank you.
Hey, so a couple things. Trump. If you remember in 2016, like, I don't know, a week or two, maybe 2 weeks before the election, that was before one of the debates, the Access Hollywood tape came out, and George W. Bush's son was an interview, and then he lost his job with that Access Hollywood for laughing at what Trump said about women and what he did with women. Now, this guy is not a role model at all. Why CNN would allow this guy a town hall? They could have canceled it. A man who disrespects practically every woman on the planet. I can't believe any woman would vote for him. And then you had people and then when that came out, you remember many, probably, if not all Republicans denounced his behavior and pulled away. Chris Christie, Lion Ted Cruz, and all these people said, we condemn this thing and all this. And his ratings dropped. And then all of a sudden, what was his name? The Attorney General would have pulled Anthony Weiner's laptop because it was associated with Hillary Clinton's number one woman.
Yeah, because Dynamo Dave, because he was messy too. The fact is, look, these people are hypocritical. Now, I mean, sex and all of that is in the center of politics and power. And what he said in the Access, and some people can get upset with me, get upset if you want, but you need to listen to the quote. He didn't say that he would go and attack women. He said, when you are a star, some women will let you do anything to them. Sadly, that is true. Sadly.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it right, but sadly, that is true.
Well, then the Me Too movement sprung up, kind of.
Yeah, it did behind that,
and other things.
And now it's
right.
You have the ebb and the flow, And so I just want to know, what was your takeaway last night from this town hall?
Well, I didn't watch it. I don't believe in watching the corporatocracy media because of the lies or the things that they put on there. Was there going to be a town hall for Marianne Williamson or Robert F. Kennedy Jr.?
Wouldn't that be wonderful? But I tell you, we're going to have Marianne Williamson on the show next week. She'll be here next week.
Great.
So, and I'm looking for Robert Kennedy, too.
And the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s father, may not have been the CIA, but there's 17 intelligence agencies in the U.S. 17. And the FBI is not one of them. But I'm saying, and the investigation showed that it wasn't, Saran Sharan couldn't have killed, so something was going on.
No, they have not told us anything.
What's going on? These are all funded by the black budget.
But Dynamo Dave,
that black budget,
they won't even release the papers. I'm more apt to trust him because his father was the U.S. Attorney General. He understood the inner workings of the government, and so did their father, which is why their father said, John, before you go in here, you take your brother with you, because these are the slickest people in the game. And he was dead within 3 years.
And
think about it.
And his uncle Ted Kennedy probably knew some stuff.
You know what? When you're in power, when you're in the power space, all bets are off. They are. So that's why I listen to it, because you know what? Some people have been in the room when some things have been said and some decisions have been made. So I want to get him on this show too, even though many of my Democratic friends have said, don't do that, you shouldn't speak to him. How are we in this space where we don't speak to people with whom we disagree? How is it that you don't want to have debates leading into the nomination process? Do you want a coronation? Do you want a nomination? I guess we all just need to go to England and kiss the ring and the feet of King Charles. back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. You know, y'all, I am just hearing all of this makes me go like, are you all serious right now? You can't shut down debate. It's a bad idea. Shutting down discussions is a bad idea. You might be onto something, Aaron. Maybe they should have had it, a couple of weeks from now, or let you see what he has to say about E. Jean Carroll right now, because he has dug in his heels on that, and guess what? Some other people have too, and that's the fight, Aaron. And that's why a lot of women don't come out, and even men who've been attacked. That's because when you decide to step out here, you open yourself up to all of it, and you have to be ready for it. It's just as, when I was growing up in leadership, my mother and father told me, what comes with this, the people in our space don't live long. It sounds cold-blooded, but that's what we saw. But we're willing to take the risk. Because I don't want to leave the world to you as I found it. That's what my father told us when he was running for president the first time. It was a sit down with my family and my brothers and my sister, who was about 8. She didn't know what was going on. But having that talk with my father broke my heart, because I knew what that meant. I knew that he was walking out into assassination territory. We'd always lived with that. Always. But this time, it was like the chances are great. Most people in the know didn't think he was going to come out of it alive. But it's the price you got to pay. He said, I can't live with leaving you in a world in which there's a ceiling on your ambitions. So Daddy's got to do this. And that's it. And if you're going to function in this space, all this stuff, Robert, Aaron, and Daryl comes with it. If you're going to be in this space. Does anyone have any comments? Don't leave me out here by myself. But I'll do it.
I agree with you. That's why I always try to reach out to the other side. But I do think the issue is the lack of follow-ups, the lack of actually holding these candidates' feet to the fire when they are in these town halls or interviews, and they become fluff pieces, almost propaganda pieces for them. I just read that in the New York Post that Caitlin Collins is being offered the 9 p.m. primetime slot now at CNN. So I think that this was more about CNN putting together a place where they can highlight her, going into her primetime time slot, and then kind of signal to Trump world that this will be a place where you can come for softball, kind of fluffy interviews that don't really hold you down on any policy.
Daryl, Aaron, Daryl, want to say anything? Are you all still there?
Well,
excuse me.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and certainly in agreement with regards to the open place of ideas that they certainly should be. And I'm not against CNN for airing the Trump piece. I think that the timing was horrible as to when it occurred, but certainly we've got to keep the door open for ideas and for individuals' thoughts and the candidates' thoughts and what they stand for on issues to be out there. One of the interesting things that, and I was listening to Robert, and as I was listening to Robert talk, I think, with Caitlin Collins, wasn't she also the one that had the issue with Don Lemon, and she had the Don Lemon blow up? Was she one of the principal people that ended up him leaving? Then she goes over, and now she's doing the Trump piece, and now, as Robert's indicated, she's now getting a 9 p.m. piece out of it. So it's really interesting to watch all the corporate piece behind it, as well as the politics behind all of this that's happening. Just very interesting.
Well, to be fair, he had run-ins with colleagues down through the years, and so that's more of a cumulative thing. But you always have to be careful. Now, this was a black man who was sitting in between 2 white women, Aaron and Robert and Daryl. Okay, you better walk tiptoe through those tulips. Because there's some space you don't have, my friend. It's just like people wanted Senator Warnock to go on the attack. Remember, with the first woman he ran against, who was a white woman who was real sharp. And the national debate that was aired, and everybody walked away saying, why didn't he attack her? I'm like, he didn't have the space to do that. This black man can't attack this white lady. Hello? Hello? You're leaving me hanging. What's going on?
Oh no, I think that you were right on. I was trying to remember her name. She was the owner of the Atlanta Dream.
Yeah. I mean, he had to just sit there. He just had to stand there and sound like he was in the pulpit. Because if he had done anything else, he would have lost that. Because he would have been viewed as her attacker. Just, I'm just saying.
Absolutely right. It just would have been a fuel to the fire. Why to go against him and, portraying him as the angry black man against the white woman and all this other stuff. That's exactly where that would have gone.
And when you walk in, you just have to understand that is where you are. And, okay, how am I going to navigate this? How do I negotiate this? It's just like also... Sarah Palin put on glasses because she's a model pretty woman. Say whatever you will. She's a beautiful woman. She is that. But in order to cut some of the resentment that would be coming her way, she put on some glasses. It's all optics. It's just like Oprah's ratings would go down when she'd lose weight.
Part of the game. It's part of the game, Santita.
Part of the game.
It's a very important piece. How you present yourself as a candidate is a big part of our job in that communications role with those folks, making sure they're
30 seconds
in their best light and they have a full picture, whatever stage they're on, that they're aligned with their voters, that they look and speak and act and show up to places where their people are, right? That's a part of the whole package. And whether sometimes it's glasses, sometimes it's
10 seconds.
better fitting suits.
Absolutely. Okay.
Stand by.
Stand by.
A certain way,
but speak to that.
Don't fidget, right?
When we get back on the other side, speak to it. Stand by.
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. It is a joy to be with you today, right here, as we talk about the CNN town hall meeting. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to have Dr. Max Wolf talking to us about the economy, about the inflation, these rising interest rates, the rising interest rates that are being risen by the Fed, and they have been told by Senators Warren and Sanders and others and economists, look, when you raise these rates, Americans are losing their jobs. What are you doing? Particularly when inflation has been directly tied to corporate greed, not corporate need. Corporations have been allowed to make money pell-mell in this period. And while they're making record profits, we're starving out here. So I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT, and let us talk about what is going on out here today. I want to hear your thoughts on this CNN town hall meeting. What do you think about it, everybody? The Trump-era border restriction policy known as Title 42 is set to expire tonight at 12 midnight, 11:59 p.m. exactly, likely resulting in an influx of migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border. Authorities encountered more than 10,000 migrants along the southern border on Tuesday, according to Homeland Security, already surpassing government estimates in the aftermath of Title 42. After more than 3 years, the United States declaration of a public health emergency due to COVID-19 ends today. However, this does not mean that the virus has magically disappeared, according to this CNN report. According to the CDC, there were more than 77,000 COVID-19 cases last week, and this is likely an underestimate, given that many people are testing for COVID-19 at home, or they're not testing at all. The declaration, which has been renewed 13 times, essentially gave the government flexibility to implement certain policies and actions, giving you extra money, providing tests for you. Well, that's over now. The expiration means an immediate end to some of the programs as well as some changes to how COVID-19 data is collected. And we are talking right now about the CNN town hall meeting that was hosted last night by Caitlin Collins, hosting former President Donald Trump, the front runner for the GOP presidential nomination, just a day after he was convicted of battery and defamation of E. Jean Carroll in New York City. Once again, he refused to concede that he lost the 2020 election, taking questions from the New Hampshire Republicans at the town hall meeting, who were quite friendly to him. Former President Trump made false and unsubstantiated claims about the violence on January 6th. And those are some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. But I did bump into this one, everybody. Billionaire Harlan Crow also bankrolled GOP lawmakers blocking SCOTUS ethics reform, like Senator Cornyn, Senator Chuck Grassley, Senator Tom Cotton, Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Mike Lee, Senator Tom Tillis, Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana, and Senator Marsha Blackburn. I think we need to talk about that, Attorney Darrell Jones, because these are the ethical questions. Robert Patillo and Aaron Connolly. It's not just Clarence Thomas said he's been bankrolling. He's been bankrolling a whole lot of people to hundreds of thousands of dollars. In Chicago, we're going to have a high of 72 degrees, partly cloudy. 74 degrees. It will be rainy up in Minneapolis, St. Paul. In the NBA, well, the Warriors kept hope alive, everybody, and they kept their chances alive at the championship. Although the Lakers lead in the series 3-2. The Warriors 121, the Lakers 106. The Knicks 112. The Heat 103, although Miami leads in that series. The Celtics will be playing the 76ers tonight, and the Nuggets will be playing the Suns. In the NHL, the Maple Leafs 2, the Panthers 1. Florida leads that series 3-1. The Oilers 4, the Golden Knights 1. That series is tied at 2 games apiece. The Devils will be playing the Hurricanes. The Kraken will be playing the Stars. In Major League Baseball, the Twins will be facing off against the Padres once again today, but the Twins bested them yesterday 4-3. The Royals 9, the White Sox 1 at 1 o'clock today. The Royals will be playing the White Sox once again, and the Cubs 10, the Cardinals 4, the Cubs and the Twins will be facing off tomorrow, everybody. And those are the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. Everybody, I've got a new sponsor. Yay, yay, yay. How many of you think that you need to be a high net worth individual, make a lot of money, in order to have a financial planner? That's not true. Megan Financial, this is one of the things that attracted me to them. Megan Financial looks for working class, yes, even at a fast food restaurant, working class and middle class people, to bring you into financial literacy and to show you how to prepare for a comfortable retirement. You've heard me talking about my newest sponsor, Ron Whittingham from Megan Financial, and you'll soon be hearing from him directly. All you need to know is that you will become financially literate after you finish hearing from him. Megan Financial has built their business on helping the middle class plan for retirement, a comfortable retirement. Some financial advisors are only interested in you if you have a lot of money, if you have high net worth, high income. No, they're different. They provide a roadmap for a dignified and comfortable retirement, regardless of your income or financial situation. Call them at 708-444-1090, 708-444-1090, and learn more at meganfinancial.com. Call me at 773-763-9278. I want to know what your thoughts are with respect to this town hall meeting. Do you think we need more of this, or do you think we need less? Some people said, Aaron Connolly, you said, look. We don't... just the timing was off for you. Attorney Megan Connolly, Attorney Darrell Jones, and of course we have Attorney Robert Patillo and Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Esquire. Let me start with you, Aaron. You said the timing was off.
Well, I think, we could have rescheduled this. The CNN does have the ability to push this off a little bit with Trump's trial this week. That's not in their interest, though. They're a corporate media entity that wants the ratings, that wants these advertisers, that, to Daryl's point,
make that money.
Show off. Yeah. And and build an audience for their campaign, which they need to get ratings in this new election cycle and build this tension and momentum. And Trump is excellent ratings for all of these networks. Let's be honest about that, right? And if there's no debates on the Democratic side, that reduces their drama factor in the election cycle, so they're going to be left to create it, right? And so I think that's the piece that I'm disappointed about on the Democrat side. I think it actually would benefit Joe Biden to have some debates with the other candidates. I think it would be a sign of good faith to the American people that, and allow him really a platform to showcase his excellent record of growth, job growth. Like, he's got a lot of wins to talk about. Mm-hmm. I would take that platform, and I would listen to the ideas of my opponents thoughtfully, and I think maybe even learn something. Maybe take some of those ideas and build those bridges. I think it would be an opportunity. So that's my disappointment. It also would allow Democrats a space in that media landscape. We're just kind of giving away this free platform, right? Because if there are debates, those networks have to cover it, and that allows the Republican side to get their message and their folks out there more. So that's my disappointment, right? I think Biden will have an opportunity to do some of these town hall pieces, and hopefully the other candidates on the Democratic side as well. But I think having them all together, I think it's a missed opportunity, and the Biden record should be showcased. I think he's got an excellent record to run on, and giving him more opportunities. I think he's done a great job recently in the public of really kind of shutting down some of these silly questions and showing his strengths, kind of the old Uncle Joe that everybody likes to cheer on. And I think it would be an opportunity. So I hope that shifts a little bit, because what we saw last night will be on our televisions over and over and over again, because the ratings, I haven't looked at those numbers, but I'm guessing they were pretty good.
I mean, or they won't be, because
there has to be an alternative.
Or they won't be, because they show what they want to show. Fox was showing the press conference about Hunter Biden from Congress, and there was no coverage of that on MSNBC or CNN, and I thought that was shameful. They should not make those decisions for us. I think that is awful. I really do. I mean, I think we are all diminished by this, and he's not doing me a favor by giving me a debate. Either you're a Democrat lowercase d, and you support a republic form of government lowercase r, or you don't. Otherwise, you're playing the same game that these power-hungry people on both sides of the spectrum play, and I'm not feeling that. I mean, really, cut us in, as Reverend Jackson has said in the past, or cut it out, or count me out, because they're going to lose people. They're going to lose people over this, Aaron. But well, we're not going to. Who are we going to talk to you? And we don't need to talk to you. We just need to go. This is not a coronation. That was in England. And that's cute over there, but I don't want that over here. We fought a revolution over that, and we won. Reverend Jeanette Wilson, your thoughts about this debate last night? It wasn't a debate, it was a town hall meeting.
Well, I think several things. One, his ability to appear to communicate with strength and to not be afraid to take questions was an interesting approach to announcing his candidacy. I listened to one of the Republicans' response to the Trump interview, and he was suggesting that he demonstrates strength. He's not afraid of the hard questions. He's not afraid to go without to be unscripted, it seems. And so that says to people, this guy says what he means what he says, even if what he says is not in the best interest of the country or the people that believe that he represents their interests. However, I thought it was just very interesting, and the question many people are asking is whether or not President Biden would engage such a program where he's, kind of transparent with the public. So I'm not sure if that would happen. The other thing is his answers really give me pause. His response on Ukraine, he clearly answers like one who's not informed, one who's not really aware of the issues that people are facing today. I don't want anybody to die. Really? That's what a president, a former president, and a potential president would say about such a war, such atrocities that have happened to children. His response on January 6th was not presidential at all. I mean, it appeared that he supported those who seized the Capitol, as opposed to fighting for the protection of that which stands for our most precious institution, our Constitution, our way of government. And so it was troubling for me, because he has a body of people who are proud of the bully, the man that will say in a knee-jerk response to anything. And this guy that was on, I think he was on CNN this morning, suggested that this is what we need, somebody that's strong and is not afraid to take the hard questions. And then his attack on the young lady that he just
Eugene Carroll.
was convicted. Yeah, Eugene Carroll. I mean, that's just, it shows really in his heart of hearts how he feels about women and women's issues.
Let him say it. I think that's great. Don't hide it from me, Reverend Wilson. I want to know. And to be fair, Europeans, led by the president of France, have said America, because Ukraine was inclined to negotiate the peace, and according to press reports, America said don't negotiate a peace, which is ridiculous. Because people are dying, and it's unnecessary. This is ridiculous. And Macron said, look, y'all are making money off of this, and we're seeing that the military contractors are making big cash off of this. Enough. From that, I was like, okay, all right, let's end this, because this is going nowhere.
Well, I'm not so sure that's going nowhere. I think there's a base that's looking for that guy, the fighter, the one who just stands firm, doesn't care.
I was talking about Ukraine.
Oh,
yeah.
So, it's going to be interesting how women who have supported him, what do they think now?
They're happy.
Now, how do they view him?
Wait. Let me put it as some people would say, right on my side of town. They happy, thrilled. Because it depends upon what strength people. These candidates are Rorschach tests. You project onto them, you pull from them what it is that you're looking for, what it is that you need. Robert Patillo, your thoughts? Is Robert still there? Okay.
Well, I think that the biggest issue for me is that if we're going to have another season of these reporters tossing up these complete softball questions and then accepting anything back as an answer and moving on, and the audience thinking that those are hard questions, we're setting ourselves up again for failure. We had 600,000 people die in the Tigray War in Ethiopia. Not a question about it. 350,000 people have died in the Syrian conflict. No questions about it. 200,000 Russian casualties, unknown number of Ukrainian casualties. He simply says, I would end the war overnight. And we just accept that as an answer. You don't want to give any more details on that? Economic policy. He just says things are great, things will be great again. Okay, what are you going to do about interest rates? What exactly will your plan be on inflation? We got to start demanding better questions and better answers, because we very much are going on this credit system. We're saying, well, let's just assume that the president doesn't actually need to know how these things work, and we'll just either set a general tone and temper and direction, and then we will hope that they figure it out when they get in there. We had almost the exact same military policy under Obama that we had under George Bush, kept the same defense secretary. We have almost the exact same border policy under Biden as we had under Trump. He just yesterday put many of the policies back in place with the expiration of Title 42. So we're not demanding better answers. Then we're going to end up with the exact same policies and just shifting deck chairs right on the Titanic.
Maybe that's the point. Maybe the powers that be certainly don't want change. Power protects itself, and the Democrats and Republicans are in it together, and that has got to stop. If you want something different, you got to be different. And you've got to demand something different, everybody. I mean, Daryl, this is not, and it's not working. You've got the Fed, they're continuing to jack up these interest rates. They're not even telling me why. When you say, hey, wait a minute, inflation is tied to corporate greed because they're not checked on how much money they make, how much profits that they do not share with the workers, by the way. It may be one thing if they were sharing with the their workers can't even live in the cities in which they work. It's insane. Your closing thought, Daryl.
Santita, I think that with my closing thoughts, what I will say is this. I said a little earlier that former President Trump is who he is, and he hasn't changed, and I stick to that. And when I listen to Aaron and to Robert talking about the policy aspect, and he wants strong policy, he's never offered strong policy. He's only offered quips. He doesn't do strong policy. That's not what he does. What he does is that he tries to say things for his audience to respond. And it's not thick policy stuff. It's generally just sayings. It's moving. It's feelings that he tries to tap into, so that people will just like him, and that his followers, they buy into it. They buy into the tough guy image. That's what he was doing last night at the town hall. The whole thing with people that were watching, his audience wanted to know, were there any signs of weakness from everything you're going through? And when they didn't see those signs, I think they take the angriness they saw, they take the meanness that they saw, they take the frustration that they saw, and they say, that's my guy. He's in there fighting. That's what I like. That's what Joe Biden and the Democrats are going to have to deal with, is that piece that's there. The answer is not in the policy. The answer is in the feeling that's being portrayed to the people and the voters. I think that's where it lies, Santita.
Well, it's all optics. Right? I mean, I will say this, we haven't had an overweight president in a long time, even though Trump he doesn't look portly. He looks like he's a big guy, and he's about 6'4", everybody. I mean, no joke. He's a big guy. And, and for some people, it's, for some, you pull from people what it is that you need. If I bump into one more woman at my beauty salon, Aaron, who tells me how much they crushed on my father when they were young. You're like, oh God, he looked like a movie star. I was like, are you serious right now? You don't even tell me what he said. It's the optics. JFK and Jackie, the optics, they looked fabulous. All that matters. Essentially, Trump and the president, former President Trump and President Biden, they're almost the same age. But one looks more vital than the other. That's real. So we're going to have to figure something out. But I tell you what, we need some town halls. I want a town hall with everybody who's running. With President Biden, with Robert Kennedy, with Marianne Williamson. That's fair. And the young Indian American who's running on the Republican side, that's fair. That's fair. We're being forced to make false choices, everybody. Now, either we want a republic that has democratic elements, that's moving toward a democracy, or we don't. We have to choose, or we will lose. You cannot let these candidates get away with this. And the next time a Democratic operative gets on that television or that radio and says, we are shutting this down, you need to call them and let them have it. You can't be a Democrat, lowercase d, and talk about having no debates and putting a candidate in hiding. This is not, we don't have the COVID public emergency anymore. You can't run from the basement. And you cannot run away from the public, Democrat or Republican, and you should not allow anyone to do that to you. They need to answer the real questions. When are we getting out of Ukraine? When is this going to be over? Why has America said to Ukraine, don't negotiate a peace? Enough of that. Negotiate a peace and let's be done with this. You just gave them $1 billion more 2 days ago. Don't you think our public school, don't you think our children need that $1 billion? Don't you think people need that $1 billion for some relief in their homes? Come on, y'all. We can be better than this, but we won't be better than this until we demand it. Let's talk about these interest rates, everybody. Megan Financial, everybody, my new sponsor. We're going to talk about them a little bit more on the other side of the break. Attorney Aaron Connolly, Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Esquire, Attorney Darrell Jones on WOL at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday, and on Sunday from 1 to 4 on WAOK Eastern Standard Time. Of course, Robert Patillo sending you all much love back with more of the Santita Jackson Show and Dr. Max Wolf in just a minute. Oh, Daryl said, I don't agree on continuing to give this man a public platform. You're making this man more powerful by giving him a public platform. I didn't do that. The media did that. They're the ones who blew him up. They're the ones who, I had never seen Robert and Aaron and Jeanette and Daryl in all of my years, and I've been in this a long time, I'd never seen a candidate who could call into a major television show and not have to sit on the sofa. They did that for Trump. He was given all the space. It was like they made, and all you heard in 2016 was how hateful and how awful Hillary Clinton was. And in that void was the strong man Trump. This is no wonder he won, even though he did lose the popular
Dr. Wolf
vote.
is on.
He did lose that. Don't forget that. Okay, Dr. Wolf, how you doing?
I think that.
Okay, go on. Go on.
Not bad.
Jeanette?
Thank you for having me.
Of course, you know this is your spot.
Hey, Dr. Wolf. We got to get Dr. Wolf to Chicago to the convention.
I would love to.
We need a real analysis of stuff. Let's talk about that.
You should have him.
All I do is hear you. I want to see you in person.
The no-fly list. Yes, well, it might be disappointing, but I'm happy to oblige. And Santita has gotten me removed from the no-fly list. So
I know she has. She's got all of us under investigation for being on her program.
I'm officially.
She convinced me to change
sick of you
my
all.
first name to Abdullah, and suddenly I was randomly selected for screening.
Abdullah Wolf.
I'm sure it's
oh my goodness.
But I was randomly selected for screening after that.
Do you see what I have to deal with here?
Listen,
Wait, no.
I changed it back.
Jeanette, let me tell you, he is honest to a fault. He's speaking at the 92nd Street Y, and they asked this question, question of this, this progressive panel, are you a racist? Everybody out, on the panel, no. And he said, well, I was raised in a racist society. And of course, I'm sure I have some racist. I said, oh my Lord, are you serious?
I tried to distinguish. I said I am probably racist, but I don't consider myself a racist. It's not a goal, but I probably.
That's not what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it wasn't like it's not on my to-do list every morning.
Oh my gosh. Wait, TJ, there is legitimate source. There are legitimate sources that the U.S. refused to negotiate with Russia, and it should be NATO, and anyone, and this is what the Europeans are saying, because I read European newspapers too. I don't just stick with the American press. Macron said, look, we need to negotiate a peace. They've all offered to do that. Stop it, and this needs to end. This is not working for us. But Jeanette, you were saying, I'm responding to one of my morning stars.
Oh, okay.
No, you were gone.
1 minute.
So just beware of what you're asking for, Jeanette. That's all I'm going to say. Beware. I love him, but oh my gosh. I'm like, what is he going to say? And he tickles Jonathan, and he tickles my whole family to pieces. Oh.
Well, he needs to explain to me, do I need to take all my money out the bank and put it under my mattress?
Well, hold on. We'll ask him that,
That's
too.
what I need to know.
We'll ask him
30
that, too.
seconds.
Okay, stand by, everybody. We're coming in. Okay, wait. Let me do that. Okay.
I'm going to leave you, Santita.
Sending you much love. Well, she wants to know about the mattress thing, because, our grandmothers kept, and great-grandmothers
10 seconds.
kept money in the mattress. Hold on.
That's right. You got to do that.
They were serious about it, too.
Stand by.
Well, once your neighbors hear you say mattress online, you got to keep it in the refrigerator too.
Can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am green.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station at AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, and guess what? The Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Kathy, how you doing? Hope you had a wonderful birthday yesterday. Robert and Barbara and Daryl and everybody and TJ, please go over to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and become my friend. Like and subscribe and share the show. Like and subscribe and share the show. Everybody, please like the show, like the show, like the show right now, right now, right now. And the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. That's my only page. Every other page is going to get you kicked off. So please go to Santita Jackson and Friends and become my friend there. Everybody, yay! I wish I had some music to go with it. I have a new sponsor, Megat Financial. You've been hearing me talk about them, and Ron Whittingham and Megat Financial have signed on to the Santita Jackson Show as full-on sponsors, and soon you'll be hearing directly from him. I'm very excited about that. Many of us think that that a financial advisor is only available to you if you make a six-figure income, if you have high net worth. That is not true. And in fact, they're completely changing the paradigm on financial advisors because they want you to become financially literate. They want you to know all that you need to know about your money. And they've built their business on helping working class people, even poor people who work in the fast food places and in the big box stores. They're looking for them. They're looking for middle-class people so that they can help you to save even just a little bit and move toward a comfortable retirement. It'll be here before you know it. Trust me. Some financial advisors are only interested in managing big money for big fees. Megat Financial is very, very different. You need to call them at 708-444-1090, 708-444-1090, or go to Megat Financial, MEGENT Financial.com, megatfinancial.com. They're different. They're real advisors. Some people say you're too big to fail. They say you're not too small to save, everybody. So if you're looking for a dignified, comfortable retirement or a way to save your money, really to create a livable, workable budget, they're the people for you. Regardless of your income or your financial circumstance, they're there for you. Give them a call at 708-444-1090, 708-444-1090, megantfinancial.com. Of course, you know what time it is. It's time to be with Dr. Max Wolf, as we're watching more than 4,000 banks in distress. Before I get into interest rates and inflation, because that's it. It just seems like the economic news, the financial news for us is just not great. And people are feeling it. People saying, you look at the news, and there's no recession, inflation is manageable. Yeah, you're making a lot of money. Most people are paying more for groceries than they've ever paid before, and they're having to put groceries back. This is a whole lot out here for people. So let's talk about this, everybody. The Fed is continuing to raise these rates. And, you have Senators Warren and Sanders and others who are saying, wait a minute, you are gambling with people's lives. It's costing people their jobs. But let's start here because many people are really worried about the financial health of our banks. You just can't take for granted now that the bank will be solvent, right? You've got more than $9 trillion of uninsured monies in the system. So talk to us. It was kind of tongue-in-cheek, but Reverend Jeanette Wilson, as she left, she said, I want to hear you talk to me about the banks. Should I leave my money there? I know some people have actually taken their money out the banks. Dr. Wolf.
Yeah, so you should leave your money in the banks in most cases. So just to sort of reference this, we have 6,000 or 7,000 banks or bank-like financial institutions, and we've seen several of them in trouble, and we've seen another 30, 40 in trouble, but that's still a pretty good rate, So you don't take your money out of the banks. The interest rate in your mattress is not good. It's 0, right? Also, you can easily be robbed, and your house can catch on fire, and your cousin who loves fentanyl can find it there looking for the bathroom or whatever. So there are risks at home too, right? Just if you want the full risk analysis, you're still better off in the financial institutions. That being said, the smaller and the regional institutions are doing badly now, and that's for a host of reasons. And the big one you actually already stated, which is all banks are faith-based institutions. They work because the public has faith in them. And when that faith gets rattled, any number of things, but bank failure is certainly high on that list, then people begin to do something, which is pull out their deposits. Right? And if the people pull their deposits out, the bank is in crisis. And it's just a question of how quickly that occurs based on the soundness of the bank. The other problem is that banks hold a lot of their money in U.S. Treasury securities, the IOUs or debt of the U.S. government. And when the Federal Reserve raises interest rates to battle inflation and that cost of groceries and the pain there that you mentioned earlier in the introduction here, then that reduces the value of those bonds. And so if your bank and your big assets, or among your biggest assets are a whole bunch of U.S. Treasury securities that are falling in value, as the Fed does 10 interest rate hikes in a year, unusually quickly, and after a very, very long time of very low rates. So people didn't expect it this quickly. And then there's a sort of sense of fear in the system, which grows with the failures of things like Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank and Credit Suisse, although not all for exactly the same reason, and First Republic, which has been very much in the news. Those are kind of the four big failure of bank news stories. And people get rattled, and now there's Pacific West. It looks like it's not doing so well, off another 10% in the stock market today, I think. And so you see that if deposits, U.S. government IOUs, and faith in the system keep everything going, and all three get dinged or hit at the same time, well then, right, you're going to have a kind of constellation of negatives occur at the same time, and we've seen that. We might have also seen that, and I would say last night as a reminder, that all the major institutions and structures of authority in the United States have been under attack, right? So they've been under attack by people who don't like what they're saying and undermine them. They've been under attack because it's the age of the expose and social media, and so many of the features of these infallible institutions have been revealed to be fallible, to say the least, right? So whether that's the Supreme Court making decisions that are inconsistent with their own previous decisions or American attitudes, whether it's a guy going on CNN by invite to campaign for president on a promise to keep on raping and let a whole bunch of people who are just convicted of treason out of jail. There's a lot of things that might be occurring that undermine the general sense of faith in the system, right? And banks are part of the system, whatever that exactly means to most people. And so if there's a loss of authority, kind of confidence in authority, there's a loss in confidence in financial authorities, everything gets sort of whipped up into this political opinion cycle, which seems to be the sort of modus operandi of America these days. Then between spree shootings, we learn about issues in the banks. And it's possible that all this doesn't gin up a ton of confidence in the general public. And you probably need a psychologist to have deeper insight into that than an economist, but it does not strike me as crazy that this would knock people's sense of this is one area where I can set it and forget it, the banks, right? That being said, you are still unambiguously a lot better off in the banks. It's a little bit like I like to drive because I know I'm in charge and I'm afraid on the airplane because somebody with thousands of hours of flight training and a co-pilot and electronics is in charge instead of good old me. You are still much better off with your money in the banks. Last piece. If you have more than $100,000 in a single account in a single institution, there's some risk there, but that's not a very common problem in the U.S. these days. There's not too many folks. And in every single one of these banks, all the depositors got all their money, and they got access to it within about 24 hours at most. So if you're an investor in a small bank, that's a little bit different.
Well, how do you invest in a small bank? I mean, because people have been talking about the investors. Who are they? What do they do? How do you invest in a bank?
one thing is small in the stock market and small in everyday conversation don't always mean the same thing. So small in the stock market usually means the company in question has a value in the stock market less than $5 billion. But, that doesn't necessarily kind of align all that well with what people sometimes mean small, right? Say when they mean the word small in their everyday life, right? So if you are invested in the bank, that either has private shares that you've bought, less likely, or more likely a small regional public bank, those shares are probably risky, and they've been battered already. So if you've been looking at them, you've seen they probably, on average, lost north of about 45% of their value this year already. So this won't be news to you if you're paying attention. The investors in these banks have been hit. They've lost everything, right? The depositors in these banks have lost nothing. And it's a good question because news reporting sometimes doesn't do a great job at telling you the difference between an investor in a bank and a depositor, right? So you're not an investor just because you have deposits. Credit unions are a bit different, but they haven't come under so much pressure. In a credit union, you could be a depositor and also a fractional owner. But in the smaller banks, no, right? So the folks in the markets, the folks who are maybe getting paid because they work there in options for those shares or who have invested in these banks, they have fared quite poorly in these. They have lost their money. But the folks who are just there with their checking account and their savings account and, their home mortgage and that kind of stuff, what regular people tend to do in a bank, they're fine.
We're talking with Dr. Max Wolf about the economy. That has got everybody really concerned these days. I mean, and all you have to do is go to the grocery store or try and figure out your groceries, your rent, your mortgage. Can I get my children to school? Can I not get them to school? I mean, grammar school. Do I have enough money for the gas? I mean, it's just tight. And now we're hearing, a lot of discussion about inflation and interest rates, and you have progressive icons like Senator Elizabeth Warren and Senator Bernie Sanders are saying, hey, you're raising the interest rates for a year, for 10 months. What are you doing? People lose jobs when you raise the interest rates. You can still have low prices and low unemployment. Talk to me. What is going on there? What are we looking at? I mean, because it gets very technical, and most of us don't know what the Fed is, what they do, what the interest rates, how they impact us. Help us to understand something this simple. Can you have low prices and low unemployment? Can you? Is it possible?
Sure. So this is a long-standing debate in economics, and then there are conditions under which you can have lower prices, and low unemployment. And we kind of know that because we've had pretty low prices and not much inflation and pretty low unemployment as it's normally measured for most of the last 15 years in the United States, right? So the last 15 years or so, we have had below average unemployment in a longer sweep of history, way below average interest rates, and almost no price inflation, right? So it is possible. It is difficult. And historically, there's a debate in economics. Sometimes it's called the Phillips curve debate. Name's probably not that important, but it has to do with the economy. And there's who worked it out. There's a long-standing belief that there's a bit of a trade-off. But think of it as a seesaw. On one side of the seesaw is low prices. On the other side of the seesaw is low unemployment. And so the way this has been done is if you have high prices or rising prices, inflation, and you want to reduce it, you weaken the economy. Basically engineer either a slowdown or a recession, and that drives up the unemployment, and it pushes down the wages. And with that, pushes down the prices. There's a lot of problems with it. It's a very blunt instrument, right? So think of it as somebody giving you surgery to remove a wart with a samurai sword. It's got some risk, right? But it's not necessarily the best tool for the job. And you might end up with, no wart, but you might lose some other stuff you wanted to keep, right? So there are some problems. The other problem is that kind of makes a presumption, historically, that inflation is largely caused by rising wages, right? And there have been episodes when that's the case. And this is not probably one of them. So when we look at the causes of this inflation, it probably has to do with huge stimulus during COVID, less production because things were shut down for the virus or to protect against spreading the virus more aggressively. And then the supply chain disruptions as all kinds of global trade deals and international agreements and other things related to COVID, and also kind of rise of nationalism, deglobalization all over the world, kind of hit. And that created price shocks. And then also the war in Ukraine, since Russia is such a large energy exporter, right? And Russia and Ukraine are such large wheat exporters, and people are worried about this war growing, becoming a larger confrontation between, Russia and the U.S. or NATO and Russia, blah, blah, blah. That has had a massive price increase. The thing is, raising unemployment doesn't do much for global supply chain, deglobalization, fears out of the war between Russia and Ukraine. Those are really don't belong to that traditional debate, right? And so we ran the risk, which, you and I have discussed for 11 months on this since it started, that you bring the inflation down, but it's probably going to come down a bunch anyway, which it has. So 10 months of consistent decline in inflation now, even if it's still harder, right? But you end up weakening the economy, which also appears to be occurring, although not that rapidly, but the weakening of the economy. And you may overly weaken the economy. 1. 2, when inflation comes down, I think the news doesn't always help people as much as they could. That means prices are growing more slowly. It doesn't mean they're shrinking. So I think there's a lot of folks out there who kind of want and need the prices to go back to where they were a year ago, right? And that would be deflation, right? That would be an actual drop in prices. When the Fed announces, and it's good news, that they've seen some progress in inflation declines, and they're right, and we saw that yesterday in the Consumer Price Index, the CPI, our broadest measure of consumer prices in the U.S., that means prices are going up, but more slowly. And I think that can be frustrating to people because they get the idea, sometimes from less than careful reporting, that when we reduce inflation, they sort of get the idea, maybe some wishful thinking in there too, that their food's going to go back to the prices that it was a year and a half ago, right? And this inflation is how fast the prices rise. So when you get rid of that, the prices stop rising as fast, or stop rising altogether, don't rise. But that isn't falling prices, yeah? So there's a bit of a problem there. And so the joke is for most Americans, and not ha-ha joke, but the irony is that if we have a recession, even if it's mild, and it looks like, we may have a mild recession, then they'll still face these prices. It just won't be higher prices, but they'll make less income. As I keep trying to tell you, and I know it's not the best story, it's not maybe the easiest, but the relationship between how much you earn or get, however you get your money, and how much things cost is what determines what you can buy, not just what things cost. So if things cost a little less, or the price of things goes up a little less, but you also have a reduction, possibly even a somewhat serious reduction in your income, you will be worse off. Because you will have less money to buy things which are the same price as they were before, right? So the same price they are now, or a little higher. But if you have like cash on cash less earnings, in most cases, there may be some exotic cases where the price of something falls and it's most of what you spend your money on or whatever. Then the other big thing no one's talking about is the rents. We had these sky-high, higher-than-ever rents, and there's just no evidence that the general public, especially the bottom 70% of people, 7 out of 10, not a small number, their incomes have not kept up with the price of housing for so long that they're massively behind, and they're house poor. When they're done paying for their rent, their basic housing costs, they're kind of just done with their income, or too close to being done with their income.
Call us at 773-763-9278, but you have a lot of people who are asking questions on the talk line. Kathy Hayes wants to know, what is the Fed? Is it a private institution? What is the World Bank? What is the IMF? Because so much of debt is tied to that and how we live, and particularly when you're talking about the so-called developing world, which is now becoming the first world. They have all the resources. When you go to Africa and Asia, what kind of keeps them from advancing economically is all the money that they owe to the IMF, right? And just being tied up with the World Bank. First of all, what is the Fed? IMF, World Bank?
Sure.
Are they private institutions? What are they?
Okay, so we should keep the Fed, in our mind, distinct from the IMF and the World Bank. The IMF and the World Bank are what are called Bretton Woods institutions. They were designed by the nations that were victorious in the Second World War. Actually, the meeting that founded them was in a country club in New Hampshire, pretty near where the debacle with El Presidente was last night. And that country club was called the Bretton Woods Club, which is why it has that weird name. And that's the origin story of something called the Bank for International Settlements, which is a little bit like a Fed for all the central banks of the world. Something called the World Bank, which you asked about, something called the International Monetary Fund, or IMF. Right? Let's segregate those to the second part of the question. The Federal Reserve was created by an act of the U.S. Constitution in 1913, went into effect in 1914. And here's what they don't tell you in the story. We have a Fed, a U.S. central bank. Every country has a central bank. You have to have a central bank because the financial markets and the banking system are very important, and this will shock you, they're very crisis-prone. So we had numerous crippling runs on the bank and financial crises. There's no FDIC, no deposit insurance. So when your bank failed, which was regular events, especially in the Depression, thousands of them failed. They just shut the door. There was no recourse, and you just lost everything, right? And this was cataclysmic to the economy. Also, part of the reason people are nervous often in the fall time of the year about markets is because it used to be that all these banks, they were flush with deposits in the summer and the spring, and then they were empty in the fall because the farmer cycle. So people would take their money out to buy all the produce and bankrupt the banks. And so the banks turned out, like every other institution, to need a regulator and to need supervision. The regulator and the supervisor for the bank system in the U.S., there's a few, but one of them, probably the principal, dominant one, is the Federal Reserve System. That is just the central bank of the U.S. It is a public institution created by an act of Congress, and it receives its funding from its own operation, but it is absolutely part of the federal government of the United States. It is, however, independent. So the fact that it's to do with money and banks, which are the focus of so many conspiracy theories and so little understanding, right, makes it sort of prime for various conspiracy theories. Also, the Federal Reserve got its start around the apex moment of the Ku Klux Klan in the United States, which was the 1910s going into 1920. And there was a very large radical white supremacist movement there, of which the Klan, I think, was only one part, but maybe, one of the more famous parts. There was also a very, very rabid anti-immigration movement. And at that point, that focused heavily on various conspiracy theories, principally having to do with people from Eastern and Southern Europe, right? So Jewish and Italian communities, among others. And because it's banking, right, and because the Jewish community has had a little bit more of a role in banking in Europe historically, than it's more prominent there than anywhere else, it got mixed up in those movements. So its anti-Fed stuff got mixed up in the sort of racist, anti-immigrant conversations of the period, and that really added to misunderstanding.
But let me ask you this very quickly in these last 90 seconds I've got here, because when you're talking to, say, black and brown people, the European end of it and the anti-Semitic spin, we miss that. People just know when they look at and many black people are getting more connected to Africa than we ever have been since we were brought over here 400 plus years ago. They see the banks crippling people who are trying to develop. We know we can't get loans from them here in the United States, and on and on and on. I mean, is the Fed, is it sanctioned by the government, or is it a government entity?
Government entity. It's just independent, so it's not directly accountable to the Congress and the president. There's a very good reason, because you don't want the Fed to be, you don't want the money system to be captive to the desires of people to get elected or to get someone else to lose an election. You want them to make their economic policies solely based on supporting employment and stability of prices, which is their mandate. So they were given some independence.
Can you stay with me?
U.S. government federally.
Can you stay with me just
sure.
like another minute? Because I know you have to run this morning, but I know Kathy and a lot of people have a lot of questions for you. Alex, thank you for a great show. Sure. My whole crew, I love you. Can't wait to be with you tomorrow, God willing, on the Santita Jackson Show. God bless. Clara, you're obsessed with my shirt today, bless your heart. I don't even care anymore. Boom. Thank you, sweetie. But so what is going on? I mean, there have been a lot of reports tying inflation to corporate greed. Because the only people who have not been checked during this COVID-19 lockdown, where, you had more billionaires created than ever before, and on and on and on. The rich got richer and the poor got poorer. What is our takeaway here? I mean, because it seems that some people are not hurting, Max, but most people are hurting. Most people are. I mean, is there a time?
That's just a COVID thing.
No, it's not a COVID thing. But but COVID,
thing.
as Reverend Tisha Williams, who does the Good News here on Fridays, she said COVID is a snitch. And it is, because it exposed our baseline health to be poor, physical health. It exposed just how in the margins and on the edge most Americans are. We are not a paycheck away from poverty, let alone 2 or 3. And on and on and on and on. I mean, just COVID just pulled back the covers on just about everything. So talk to us.
Sure. Well, look, during the sort of response to COVID, so let's say starting in the middle period of 2020, we saw a lot of sort of major policy twists or shifts, right? And one of those was massive subsidy to corporations and also to individuals. We actually saw the poverty rate fall because we did a lot of social programs too, right? So a lot of things sort of changed during COVID. Some will be temporary. Some will be permanent. That's what people are fighting over now, and that's still unclear, right? Because we're literally a few hours into the official post-COVID period now, right? It's just a few hours. So that's a little bit TBD, but we gave massive support to the financial markets, and that gave massive support to prices of assets that wealthy people buy. And so they did really well. Right. Also, the stock markets tend to over-index or over-capture the successes of the tech industry, especially the large companies in the tech industry. And they did incredibly well because people moved large portions of their life online. So if they were already online, they went more online. If they were not so online, they went online, right? So the major beneficiaries of people doing things online, whether that's their grocery shopping, which they didn't used to do, or their food shopping, and their clothes shopping, or their vacation stuff, or buying more video games, or watching more streaming television or movies, whatever it was, everyone in that business did really, really well, and that was showed up in equity markets and showed up in creating new wealth. Right? The other truth is that in bad economic times, in tough times, income is fragile. You have to go to work tomorrow to earn that money, right? And you have to still please the boss, and you have to be well protected by the laws that protect employees and all the other stuff. So income is fragile in all markets, but particularly in a tough economy, and wealth is robust. The money that sits in that bank sits in that bank. And the more scared and panicked people get, the more you can get them to give you for your money. So panics do tend to privilege wealth, stock of past earnings or inheritance. They do tend to privilege that over income because income is more fragile. Right? Think about a war or something. A war breaks out, you take your wealth, you move it somewhere else, you move with it, story's over. If there's a war, your income goes away, you have nothing, and you're one of lots of people with nothing begging for asylum somewhere else. Right? So wealth outperforms income in tough times. Wealth is overseen in part by banks and financial institutions. And so when their clients do well, they kind of share in that, right? It is also true that money is very poorly understood and not taught about at all, which I think adds to the mystery. It's a bad choice here. And so people easily sort of fetishize the symbol of wealth, money. They think it's the symbol that's powerful, not the social arrangement that makes it powerful, right? So the more market your economy is, the more things your money is allowed to influence. I'll give you an example of two. We auction off our elected officials here to more or less finish the process now. They don't stand on the stage, right? No one comes and checks their teeth, but, pretty close. Right? Pretty close, right? Yes. And so once you auction off, and I'm not trying to offend anyone in particular, but I think it's a defensible assertion.
No.
So,
Look. I mean, they are on the auction block. They are.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little, I guess, more dignified. They're not stripped. No one checks their teeth. No one slaps them to their reason.
No, they're not stripped unless they stand for the poor. Then they get stripped and flogged in public, put in jail, et cetera, et cetera. I know something about those things.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. If you, well, look, once you're bought, you got to stay bought, and that's attention, right? This is a, issue for sure, but if you auction off, the only thing you auction off is our popular understanding of things. That's the role of mass media and social media, right? So we also auction off the right to tell the public whatever the heck you want about what's going on to them. And so you tend to have a situation where the rules, the understandings about how things are going, very much serve the interest of the people with money. That's a risk. There are benefits, many benefits too, but that's a risk of increasing the scope of the private market, right? Since 1980, we've been on sort of an ideological kick of increasing the scope of the market. Somehow, the average person who doesn't have that much money thinks that they're eventually going to be rich. I don't mean to laugh, but it's a strange social theory. But they're eventually going to be rich, and they want to get the society ready for when they're rich so they have unchecked power. And they're unable to connect that whatever chance they have of getting rich is actually diminished if the already rich make all the rules. Because guess what they're not that interested in? It's going to shock you. Yeah? You can get richer than them. That's not part of the dream. Somehow we can't connect those dots. And so we auction off the politics, and we auction off the culture, and then we're angry that the market is so big and the regulations are so small, we blame the federal government. We say, government, why didn't you protect me? Having shrunk it and voted for people who run on, I will shrink it. Right? The ideological leader of this, like Grover Norquist for a while, his famous line was, I want a government small enough that I can drown it in the bathtub. Does not seem like someone who's trying to build good governance per se, that line, but who knows, subject to some interpretation, I guess. But yeah, so if you shrink all the organizations, the free press, the federal government, that are designed to keep wealth in check and accountable, then you're going to, again, shocking, wealth will not be in check. It will not be accountable, right? But it's the social power we give money as much as money. I think that's why you can sometimes see much more happy, balanced, contented people who have less money, who have come to terms with the role money plays in their life. That's why educating people on budgeting and savings and stuff like that is so important, and it is fairly tragic that we don't. Obviously, in many regards, probably a good thing, but if I think people should not get out of high school without some basic budgeting skills and some basic money management and saving skills. And I think it's marginally tragic that they don't, because
we used to do that.
Among the most important. We did, and it worked, by the way. It was pretty successful. Yeah, but those are real important survival skills.
Like we used to protect people on the planes, because what President Biden has put forth, and I'm so glad that he's done it, up until maybe the mid-'90s, if you got stuck out of town or if you were delayed, you got a voucher from the airline, you got hotel accommodations overnight, you got a meal or two. That's what they used to do. But these airlines, these corporations have gotten greedy. They don't take care of you, so you're just stuck. I remember that in college. we got stuck somewhere. I think in Detroit, we were fogged out of Chicago, so we had to fly to Detroit. And it was a bunch of college kids on the plane. They were like, oh, what are we going to do? I didn't even think about calling my parents because, of course, we have friends in Detroit. And my father was like, you should have called me. I could have gotten Judge Bell to come and get you and blah, blah, blah. Da, da, da. I was like, no. I felt an obligation to help everybody out. Secretly, he was proud of the fact that I went and argued for our hotel rooms, our vouchers for our meals, the transportation to the hotel, and the transportation back to the airport the next morning. I said, Dad, otherwise everybody was just going to be stuck sitting in the airport. That wasn't going to work.
And airport prices, you want some inflation. It's about $150 for a slice of pizza that's so gross your dog would need it. Airport, not the place to be stuck. With no money and nowhere to go.
But wait a minute. There are a lot of questions, but I just have one other question for you, because Johnny Diggs has said something, and he is a government official here in Chicago. But I wanted to go to Mr. Aponte because, a lot of people listen on this show, and he said, I have a question. Why is it that the government has cut the SNAP program, on the food assistance program, as you well know, as prices keep going up for those who are in need and who need help? I mean, what kind of sense does that make, Max?
Yeah, so the SNAP program runs a few different ways. So some states have some authority, and then there's a federal decision. I'm pretty sure that he's referring to the federal budget, right? But there are also state and local policies about which I'm much more likely to be ignorant. So just put that out there. So look, the Supplemental Nutrition Program, which people call SNAP, which we used to kind of call food stamps, and a lot of people still do call it that, although the federal government hasn't for quite some time now, has been caught up in fighting over the debt ceiling and other issues. There's been a Republican proposal to cut those, kind of because they know the Democrats won't vote for that, and that will deadlock the bill, and then they can blame each other, and they both do it to each other. They can blame each other for, the debt ceiling issue. So it has been held captive there. And then the other reason, I don't know if it's been cut, but there was an increase to it around COVID, and the Republican Party successfully got that removed at the official sunset of the COVID period, which is today. Right now, some states have topped it up. I know that they're trying to do that here in New York for at least another year or so. And this is my I don't know what the policies are in Illinois. But this is a reference to the Illinois policy. But the federal apportionment for supplemental nutrition is sort of caught up in this debt ceiling. I don't think that a dead cash-on-cash cut has gone through yet on the federal level, but it's captive to that debate. And there was an increase that was passed around COVID, and part of that is sunsetting with the sort of official May 11th, right, the official end of the COVID period. So I don't know if that's an answer to the question he's asking, but I think so.
No, it is. Yeah. Because we don't know how these programs run, but we do know that with the debt ceiling fight, for example, they're facing a more than 20% cut, and that the people who will be negotiated out of, really, their survival is going to be at risk, are the poor and working class people. Johnny Diggs reached out to us, and thank you he's from Memphis. I love Memphis, but he's a Chicagoan. We got him now, and he is also an official in our government here. And he said the Federal Reserve, he went to the St. Louis Fed, because, a lot of people, there's a lot of confusion about this. And, he said the, Federal Reserve, it's according to documents, because I always thought that it was sanctioned by the government, but it's not part of the government. This is what he wrote. The Federal Reserve banks are not a part of the federal government, but they exist because of an act of Congress. Their purpose is to serve the public. So is the Fed private or public? And this is from the St. Louis Fed. The answer is both. While the Board of Governors is an independent government agency, the Federal Reserve banks are set up like private corporations. Member banks hold stock in the Federal Reserve banks and earn dividends. So it seems like a mix, but so much of our system, thank you so much, Johnny Diggs, it seems like
so... that's the regional bank?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to keep clear,
okay.
There's a federal system, which is what the Fed is, and then there are 12 regional banks that kind of represent an apportionment of the economy as it looked in 1913 when they were selected, right? So they're not as many of them in the South and the West as there would probably be if we did it now, because our population and our GDP has kind of migrated west and south in the 100 years or so since the Fed, right? But there are regional Federal Reserve banks, and they're quasi-public, quasi-private. The system is definitely part of the federal government, though, right? And that's the Federal Reserve System, which also has 12 regional banks.
Okay. Well,
So, yeah,
it's
absolutely correct. Yeah.
Okay, we just want to know, and I want to send a shout out to Cynthia. Is it Worcester? I want to make sure that I'm pronouncing it correctly. She said, "I love your show so much. Love you, Cynthia." Where are you from? If you can type that quickly, girl, because that would help me out a lot. Because I'm not the fastest typist in the West, without a lot of errors. But let me know where you are. Everybody, July 15th through the 19th, we've got our Rainbow Push International Conference. I hope that we can get Dr. Wolf in, but he's got a special date in the middle of that conference, his daughter's birthday, which is my birthday. Boom.
Easy to remember, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
She and I were born on the same day, at the same time. What?
I don't know if you guys are going to similar parties, but she's doing the My Little Pony theme this year. I don't know if you are, but
Old folks parties. And we're going to have some music, some food, and we're going to dance. How about that?
she might do the rest of that, but with more of a My Little Pony bend to it. And I think the sort of apex for her is popsicles.
Well, I'm telling you, if she came to the party, because I have parties that children can attend, okay? I don't do anything that kids cannot come to. And but that I get that from my parents, because my parents used to entertain at our home all the time, and it's not, we were not unwelcome. We were welcome, and people said they just always saw a lot of kids underfoot. Because my mother said, not my mother, different people said they'd come to the house and Jackie's pregnant again. She's having another one. She's having another one. She only had 5, you guys. It wasn't that frequent. But, Cynthia, you're from Helena, Montana, sending you so much love. I'm so glad you listen out that way. Dr. Max, say hello to Cynthia. She loves the show. She loves you.
Oh, thank you very much. I have not been to Montana, but I hear many good things about how beautiful it is from lots of people.
Oh, yeah, it's great, but it is great. So no money in the mattresses, no money in the refrigerators. We're safe for now, you're saying?
Well, a little bit. A little bit's probably smart to have, up to 2 weeks of spend. Who knows, right? World's a crazy place. But, yeah, not more than that.
But Max...
I definitely don't go on the radio and tell people your name and then leave all your money in your house, which is really up to you.
But, Max, people don't have that much money. People don't have 6 months of savings. People don't have, you live from payday to Monday. It's tight out here. I mean, when are folks going to get a break?
I gotcha.
No, because what you're saying makes perfect sense. It's just the problem is people are not able to live that way because it's just so tight. It's so tight.
Yeah,
yes.
The good news is if you have $37 in deposit at the bank and you lose it, you can bounce back faster. But yeah, I don't think that's obviously not serious, that advice, but I don't think that the banks are the biggest risk to the average low-income American.
Okay.
I think that the job market is a bigger risk. The grocery store is a bit of a risk, but the truth is, these days, there's a pretty good chance you'll get shot, so you don't have to pay those groceries anyway. You go crazy in there. But, yeah, I think there's I think part of how you don't improve your situation, and this is not a critique of anyone or any of the questions, is you misidentify the threats to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think there's a lot of people helping us misidentify the threats to us.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So, we have a national debate about who reads to our kids and not who's shooting them. That seems weird to me.
It is, but
right?
but the thing is, if you depend upon corporate media, and so much of just the general way in which information is dispersed, unless you're a nerd like you and me, you're not going to dig down and ask. People have questions, they just don't have time to find the answers. They're trying to live from day to day, and I am not mad at you, which is why I feel a special obligation.
They do try to find the answers.
Yeah.
They do the work, and they find 3 stories, all of which can't be true at the same time, and it's confusing and demoralizing, too, right? Because it is the age of opinion masquerading as fact.
Oh my gosh, masquerading as fact. Let me say this to Kathy Hayes, who's just our birthday girl, Payday to Monday. That is not original to me. Lynn Richardson, I believe in giving credit where it is due. Lynn Richardson, who is a financial wizard, and she is an author, and you need to get her books. Lynn Richardson coined that phrase, Payday to Monday. Payday to Monday. I'm going to reach out to her and get her on the show because she's a financial advisor, and I can't wait to get Ron Whittingham on the show because financial literacy is a real issue. Do you think that's part of the problem that we're dealing with right now, Dr. Wolf? I mean, because home economics, when our parents were in school, was a real thing, and you didn't just learn to cook and clean in there. You learned how to create a budget for your house, and that's a real thing.
For sure.
Do you think that, but people are not paid enough, Max? I mean, but do you think that that's part of the problem, not being financially illiterate? Most of us.
Yeah, I mean, so that certainly it's a part of the problem. I think the other big part of the problem that doesn't get much discussion is if you give people a situation where if they do everything they're told and play by all the rules, they don't get any of the material things that's supposed to be life's rewards, then they'll just start buying them for themselves anyway. And as much as you can counsel these people, hey, this isn't the best use of your money, and that's true, the problem is if you do all the things you're supposed to and you don't get any rewards, it's kind of hard to keep people doing it, right? So the financial literacy is super important, and the truth is it's also a cultural thing, right? What is the bigger reward? The newer car, the vacation, the fancier clothes, the restaurant meal, whatever you're into. And I understand those are meaningful. Is that more important than having some control over your life? Right? Because the best luxury goods is to be without the fear that you can't make the bill.
Absolutely.
And but that's a different story, right? If life's excitement is the new shoes and the trip and the car and whatever, the fancy jeans, the sort of nice restaurant meal, all of which are legitimate and cool, and people should have a right to and get to and go to, and there's nothing wrong with wanting that stuff, right? But the society sort of has you running like a dog chasing that rabbit, but people can sometimes forget that having a little dignity, not being up all night sweating about whether they can pay the rent, not being just totally cataclysmically rocked by an auto repair or a medical bill, right? We know what hurts people. Relationship breakups, automotive mishaps, and medical bills. That's what usually knocks people off the horse here financially, right? And so those are things you had to plan for. And that money doing nothing for you that didn't buy you the nice dress or didn't buy you the watch or didn't buy you the night out or the nicer car or whatever it is, that money means that you can afford your car to break down. You can afford to be sick and miss work for a week, or you can afford a medical bill, or $500 copay, or get a down payment on a new apartment because the relationship's not working. Like, those are things that just honestly happen to people, no fault of their own in most cases, just because life, right? So yeah, it depends on what you're planning for too, right? It's like what is the goal, and if you want people to sort of sacrifice for a goal, it is very important that they see it as attainable. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Dr. Max Wolf, everybody. Dr. Max Wolf, what's the word you want to leave us with this week? Because no doubt we will be faced with an onslaught of news about the economy and personally about the money. Chappelle was just saying that paying $5 for a dozen eggs, for a gallon of milk, just unacceptable. It's just getting to be a lot.
Well, a lot of countries do something I don't think we would get through the Congress here, but just putting it out there. Right? So taking a step back from what I think is politically likely, a lot of countries throughout history have had a good run of stabilizing certain prices of certain items. Think things like milk, bread, eggs, things like that, right? That are basic staples, and they kind of just put some prices on them. So maybe not the fancy brand you can always pay whatever for, but the basic brand on the basic stuff, things like bread, milk, and eggs and stuff like that. That does two things. One, it makes sure that people don't have inflation attack their ability to sort of provision their kitchen, if you will, right, to feed themselves and their families. And the other thing is it means you can make substitutions to make things affordable. So you can say, okay, the prices are going up. I'm going to have less of this and more of that because that's subsidized. And it helps everyone. So it keeps those prices down, whether you're, Bill Gates or the guy on the corner. So it's kind of there for everyone cheap. There's no distinguishing, which I think is important. There's no sort of social diminution around it or ding. It's just that's the price on the shelf. Whoever walks to the shelf and whoever buys the item, right? We could begin that conversation here. I think it would make a lot of sense. And it does sort of lift the floor, right? Because that subsidy, if you're very wealthy, you get it, but it's probably not hugely important to you. But if you're not, it's a big deal. And if you don't have much money and you're spending all your money on basic food, society should reward you because you're making a very painful, difficult choice for you and your family to have the basics and keep people healthy. And by the way, that will also save us a ton of money long term when you're not sick. So probably more than pay for itself. It's also the right thing to do, even if it doesn't pay for itself at all or doesn't pay for itself right away.
Everybody, that's Dr. Max Wolf, and thank you for talking about normalizing wellness when we have our infection preventionist, our registered nurse and PhD college lecturer, Dr. Shanina Knighton, on at the beginning of the show in the first hour. She talks about being the CEO of your health, the CEO of your own health, and she said, we've normalized sickness. Now we need to pivot and normalize wellness. And I say that on every single level. That's what we need to do. And D-Ray, you said Facebook is not giving notifications when I'm on the air. They've been messing with my algorithms, girl. It's terrible. Oh, Max, do you know someone at Facebook? You need to talk to them. They're messing with my people. What?
I don't know about that feed algo team, yeah. But I have associates there, friends. I don't work there, but yes, I think so. I think they like to be called Meta now, by the way.
Yeah, they like to be called Meta. I'm sick of them. ETA, okay? Sick of ETA. Already tired of them. Yes.
Yeah.
But
they should do the Prince thing and change their name to Swiggle. Yeah, they haven't done that yet.
Oh, but we know the man who changed his name because Prince was in this. His lawyer is a very dear friend of mine.
He's a company.
Well, what ended up happening was, this was like one of the biggest stars in the world, one of the biggest recording artists on earth, and Warner Brothers said, okay, you can go with another company, or you can even start your own, but you can't use your name. So Al Bell, who owned Stax Records, what he is, a contemporary of Berry Gordy's, and just he and Berry Gordy, the two biggest iconic names in popular music in the United States.
Right.
And he said, okay, let me tell you what you should do. Create a symbol and be the artist formerly known as Prince. He said, because that way they'll have to call your name.
Yeah.
And when I found out that's what, I said, of course you would get that from Al Bell. Of course you would get that from Al Bell. Brilliant.
He should have changed his name to King, formerly Prince, now promoted and on his own.
Oh, man. Too rich.
Pretty smart.
Yeah. Oh, it was brilliant.
I don't know that industry, but yes.
Oh, yeah, well, we've known him.
Adaptation to a bad contract.
Oh, look, we've known him, and I've known Londell, his lawyer, for like more than 25 years, but Al Bell I've known since, oh my goodness, since I was a baby, since I was about 4 or 5. And he said, no, that way they'll always have to call your name, but the story will be about your name now. He said it'll be, you'll be, he said you won't miss a beat.
So people know.
It became a thing.
All right.
I'm sending you much love.
Probably less interesting meetings, but I have to do some work. But yeah, thanks for all the questions. Hope we answered some, and we always have next week to pick them back up.
If not sooner, I'm on my way to New York, so I'm going to let you know.
Yeah, please do. All right, be well.
All right. Bye, sweetie. I love you all. Alex, thank you for a great show. All my crew, thank you all for a great show. Hopefully, I'm going to do this story tomorrow that I think is going to be very inspirational to you. So stay tuned. We got a lot to talk about on the Santita Jackson Show. With all of my heart, I love you all, and I thank you just for for making this show what it is. And, you know, Cynthia, what a pleasant surprise. You never know who's out there listening to you. She's in Helena, Montana. And so she's one of our morning stars. And just thank you. You just lift me when you say that you love the show and that you're part of the community. It's a blessing. It really is a blessing to be with you every day, to serve you every day. It really, Edith, sending you so much love. All of you, really. You all just, you light up my life. That was a wonderful song when I was a little girl by Debbie Boone. You light up my life. You fill my life with song. You give me hope to carry on. And I just want to thank you all for being part of my life and for lighting up my life. I love you, everybody. And I salute the divinity in each and every one of you. Love you. Have a great one. Thank you, Paula, but I'm not going to New York just yet. I got to go to California first. Oh, I'll let you all know all about that, too. Boom. So I love you. Remember Debbie Boone, Laura, do you? Oh, my gosh, I loved her. I loved her. You know, that's Pat Boone's daughter. Loved her. Oh, my gosh. I loved her, loved her, loved her, loved her. Oh, boy. And I loved You Light Up My Life. And I was so happy when, you know, that she had that success. And then she moved into the Christian music market. And I was very happy about that because I always loved people who did, you know, clean, decent music. And I've met her father on several occasions, Pat Boone, who is an absolute gem. He's an absolute gem. He brought my father a pair of white buck shoes as a gift. Isn't that wonderful? But I you know, so grateful for the wonderful people I've been able to meet down through the years. They've been such blessings, but so have you. And I love you, everybody. Have a great one. Have a great one. God bless you. I'm signing off now.